Welcome back to Love in the Wild, the podcast where we get real about modern dating, the good, the messy, and everything in between. Today, we are diving into one of the biggest traps in dating right now, which is situationships. And I have been in them, so I'm in for a learning as well. The ones where it's months of talking, hanging out, maybe even acting like a couple, but without clarity, commitment, or direction. Situationships can leave you drained, confused, and wondering what went wrong. That's why I am so excited to have Erika from A Little Nudge. She is a no-nonsense dating coach, and she has helped thousands of singles stop wasting time on dead-end connections and start dating with intention. So in this episode, we talk about how to spot the red flags early, how to protect yourself from sliding into a situationship, and how to set boundaries that actually stick. So everybody, please welcome Erika. She is going to give you a little bit of an introduction, and we're going to hop right into it.
Perfect. Well, thank you for having me. I really like how you define. I was going to ask how you would define situationship, and it's funny. I was doing this show recently. It was a wordplay show. Whatever. Don't ask. I do a lot of weird things. And the theme of the show was, "What's the worst word?" And you had to build your case for the audience to vote for you for the worst word. And I chose situationship. And I chose it because we have a word on something now for the lack of clarity. Like the lack of clarity itself is the thing, but that's not good enough. We need a word for the lack of clarity, which somehow almost legitimizes the thing. And you know how they used to have the it's complicated, like that like when Facebook first came out, we have to label everything these days. So anyway, the point is, thanks for having me. What would you like me to share?
I would love to learn a little bit about you. I saw your Instagram. I'm so intrigued that you are a former economist. You have been on NPR. You have been in the New York Times. Like, how did you go from being an economist to then helping thousands of people in the dating space?
Yeah, what a weird career trajectory, right? I don't know if you're like me, but I learned growing up that you do the thing that's marketable. You do the thing that will give you a job. So I studied economics. I got a job as an economist. And it was fine. I was in a cubicle, as fine as that could be. But on the other side, I was a really early adopter of online dating. I started when I was in college, which is well before online dating was popular. No, I mean, it was everyone was concerned I was going to meet a stalker and a killer. So, but I just thought this seems like a cool way to meet people. I don't know. So over the years, I started a spreadsheet, because I'm a nerd, of my own online dating experience. And initially the spreadsheet was so I didn't accidentally write to the same person twice. So before all of the apps came out, you had to use a username, like, Katelyn's fun, whatever. Or, Erika New York Pizza, anything like that. And so you definitely don't want to write to Erika New York's Pizza twice. So I was keeping a spreadsheet to make sure I didn't accidentally do that. But then, given my background, I said to myself, well, I can measure things in here. What's my response rate when I write to somebody? What's the probability they write back to me? And then if they do, what's my conversion rate? And how can I improve those? So I made little tweaks here and there, length or content or picture types or number of pictures, and really increase those results. And then my friends, of course, were like, what are you doing that I'm not? So I started helping them. I was writing their profiles. I didn't get to exactly use my creativity when I worked at Fannie Mae. And so I realized I had something, and I quit my job in 2011, so 14 years ago, and started my business. Yeah, so I started early days, before Tinder or anything like that. And so things have definitely changed over time in terms of the online dating sites and apps that are available to people, how people are using them, the pace of using them. My advice has certainly changed over time to adapt to all of the new ways people are meeting people. But in the end, people are people and they want to meet. And so that's what I love doing. So yeah, I've been doing this over 14 years.
That is fantastic. I didn't know that it was that long. Mm-hmm. And I love how adaptable you are to the industry. I think that, in my own personal life, I also kind of use myself as a case study for different things that actually made me successful, but it is the adaptability to like, okay, well, this is now either the new thing and I need to adapt to it,
Right.
or this is, no longer serving me or whatever. I absolutely love that you put it in an analytical standpoint.
I still love a spreadsheet. Yes. Thank you. Well, it's funny. It's funny. Speaking of adaptability, so I have a business degree, which I never thought I would actually start a business. So like I only half paid attention in entrepreneurship class. But the ironic thing is now I speak in class every year. And so, the students inevitably ask me like, what's your growth strategy? What's your exit strategy? Where do you see the business in 5 or 10 years? And I always laugh. And what I say to them is, I could predict something, but I'll be wrong because I don't know what's going to happen. And I think my strength is not planning for the future. It's being able to quickly adapt to what comes out. Because I don't have, crystal ball abilities, but I can think fast.
Yes. And I actually read something where it's like the most successful people are the people that can pivot fast.
Right.
Like they don't take two options and really weigh them out to the death of them.
Yeah.
They're like, I know who I am, or I know what is probably the better option. I'm going to listen to my gut and I'm just going to go.
Well, right. And that might actually be the perfect segue into situationships, because I think as a business owner, so we're still talking about the business side, not the actual dating. I think if I made this 5-year plan and was so obstinate that I stuck to it, no matter what happened in the world, I would fail because, I'd be wrong. And now, okay, you already understand, you're smart. So if we're so stuck on, I want this to work, this has to work with this specific person, and this person starts showing us things that make them perhaps not viable for what you're looking for, we stick to it because we're all a little stubborn, and that's not a segue I had in my head before we started talking, but I think it's a pretty good one.
I love how that segues in, and, it actually does, like, why do you feel like situationships are so popular in 2025? Because I got divorced about 3 years ago and we were together for a decent amount of time. So prior to meeting my ex-husband, situationships, like, I don't feel like were a thing. So when I got back into the dating world, unfortunately, I got immediately put into a situationship, and it took a long time for me to actually realize like what this was. How do I get out of it? Because I did the same 5-year plan where I was like, no, I want this to work. I want to, stubborn. I want to see it to the end. So why do you think that they're so popular, prevalent these days?
I have a few follow-up questions just based on what you said. One, I don't think this is new. I think we just have words for things now. This behavior, these things, these undefined relationships, that's not new. It's just that we have a word for it. And when you have a word to label something, before the color blue was invented, nobody could label the color blue. But once blue was invented, you better believe everything everyone saw was blue. The sky is blue. The this is blue. A sparrow is blue. I don't know what color sparrows are, but you know what I mean. And so I don't think it's more, quote, popular. Though I will say, because people have a perceived unlimited number of choices these days, perhaps they think they can do better. Maybe. We'll come back to that. But I have a question for you. You said, and I know this is not a coaching session, and I know I'm not interviewing you, but I am curious. You said I was, quote, put into a situationship. And I just want to know what you meant by that.
So I had met somebody, and I love that this is a coaching session, because not a coaching session, but like I love bringing my real life into it, because
let's analyze it.
Yes. I want this podcast to be like, learn from my failures. Don't do as I do as I say.
Oh, I don't see anything as a failure. I mean, it is a learning experience, like you just said, because you're not going back to square one. You're going, you're so much more knowledgeable now. But anyway, okay, so put into, what do you mean?
Yes. So I had met somebody, and, he kind of checked all the boxes.
Okay.
He was the guy that, texted me, "Good morning, beautiful," every day, was checking in on me.
Did you like that, or you didn't like that?
I loved it.
Okay.
I basically loved everything that this guy was doing.
Okay.
The way that he pursued me, the way that he showed love.
Yep.
He was, always available. And to that point, at the time, I was like an unhealed, like more anxious of an
This was right
attachment.
after your divorce.
This was right after my divorce. So I was very anxious and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this kind of like substitute type of love. Like it felt real. It felt right. And then as we got down the road, I kind of started seeing that the things that he was telling me didn't add up. They were almost like, oh, I don't have service here. My phone's going to die. I'll call you. You cannot laugh at this.
I'm not laughing. You're laughing. I'm just following.
I am. No, I think it's funny now. And so it turned into this like typical situationship. But at the time, I felt so invested in it. Like we had really built a deep emotional connection to each other. And then, finding out about other girls and finding out like, oh, you weren't really with friends. You were on a date. You were, doing all these things. And so it kind of put me in this spot of like, do I believe that he's going to change or do I believe that this wasn't real?
Well, I have a question. Had you ever discussed exclusivity?
We had.
And did he agree to exclusivity?
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about different things here. We're talking about someone just being dishonest.
Well, we had talked about exclusivity in the point that we weren't talking to other people. So he didn't want to put a title on it.
Yeah, well.
But we weren't talking to anybody else. So looking back, I'm like, that's just pure confusion. Because if you're not talking to anybody else, why would you not be titled with somebody else?
I agree with you 100%. People are, the more I hear about this, we'll call it a trial period, the more I think it's ridiculous. Like, some people are like, well, I want to see what it's like being exclusive with someone, but, I'm not ready to call them my boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, whatever. That's a loophole. And I think, unfortunately, you discovered that because if someone says, do you have a girlfriend? The answer is no. And so I would rather people wait longer to become exclusive and do all of the bells and whistles in that exclusivity conversation. Well, okay, we're exclusive. What does that mean? Are we deleting our apps? Are we just pausing them? Can I watch you delete the app? We're going to a party this weekend. Should I be like, this is my boyfriend? And so live and learn, I don't think you did anything wrong. You were going with it, and the way you understood exclusivity clearly was different from his. So I think if anything, going forward, you just learned that you have to be more communicative in terms of what does a word that we think is easily defined mean to somebody else.
That's a really good way to put it and to like really have those conversations. What would you say is a good timeline for, having that exclusivity talk, deleting the apps, kind of going from just dating to being boyfriend and girlfriend? I saw one of your posts on Instagram about NATO or NATO or whatever you called it. And I loved it because it was, people in the comments were like, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. So what is NATO? Not attached to outcome. So I kind of think it goes back to exactly what we said. I mean, you were probably, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you were probably attached to being with this person. And I understand why. You had really built a connection and you probably hadn't had one like that in a very long time. So I don't begrudge you. I don't blame you anything about that. But I think perhaps you stuck to that outcome too far and maybe didn't notice things about him as a person. And so how long? I couldn't say. I mean, I couldn't put an arbitrary number on it. If I were to put an arbitrary number on it, I would say 3 months. Because in 3 months
is when you have the talk of being exclusive.
Yeah. Slash boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, whatever. Yeah, because in 3 months, I don't know how often you're meeting someone, but you've probably been on at least 12 dates. I hope, if you're going out once a week. And you've seen them now when they're in a good mood. You've seen them when they're in a bad mood. You've seen them when they're hungry. And vice versa. They've seen you, when you're hungry. They've seen you, you've seen each other when you're cold, you're hot, when you have other stressors of the world, when someone in politics inevitably does something ridiculous. You've seen them on that day. You see how they react to that. You see if they let stress take over and they shut down on you. You see how they handle conflict. I'm sure in 3 months you've probably had something minor that's come up. And so I want you to have all of those things before you decide whether to become exclusive with someone. Because a lot of people push for exclusivity, in my opinion, too soon. Because they think it'll give them they
Yeah.
think it'll give them they think it'll give them a sense of stability while we locked it in. So, but no, it's actually a false sense of stability because it's not based on a solid foundation. Like even yesterday, I got a text from a client, and I won't say, nobody will know who it is, but she met someone in real life, and she really pushed for the first date. Like he was being pretty wishy-washy about it. And she said they had a great time. And then he was being wishy-washy about a second date. And then she asked him on a second date to a comedy show. And he said, I'll let you know by Tuesday. And he didn't. He got back to her Wednesday or Thursday. And she texted me and asked what to do. And then she said, when do I bring up whether he's looking for a relationship? And I'm like, Sarah, her name's not Sarah. I'm like, Sarah, why would you want to be in a relationship with someone who's already shown you he's wishy-washy and doesn't stick to his word? And so I think as people, we become so set on a particular outcome we want that we fail to notice what people are actually showing us. And so I think it's much more important to be an observer at the beginning, observe someone's behaviors, than to be some sort of sleuth or detective.
That is really good advice.
Thank you.
Because I feel like from my situationship, that's something that I've learned is looking back on it. I'm like, maybe, I'm very empathic. I'm very, I can see myself in someone else's shoes,
Sure.
Everything like that. And so maybe, the first time that there was an issue, it's like, okay, you forgive it and you move on. But
what was the
then
issue?
you're like,
that he wouldn't acknowledge that you were together?
yes. Yeah. Or like would still go on dates with other girls. And
I have to ask you, and you don't have to answer this, but what in you made you stay when you found out that he was maybe going on it? He went against his word and was going out with what made you stay? Because I don't know you well, but clearly you're, a strong, successful woman. And I understand we all get our, sometimes people have an effect on us that we cannot explain. But what was it?
I've gone to a lot of therapy.
Okay.
To
and
really
I'm not a therapist, admittedly.
Yeah, no, this isn't a therapy appointment, but I have gone to a lot of therapy, and I realized that I defined my worth off of love.
I see.
So in the last 3 years, what I've really done is taken that love inward.
Good for you.
And taken it into other healthier sources rather than dating and finding somebody else. Just to note, I am dating now, but 3 years ago, I was like, I'm going to pour that back into my friends. I'm going to pour that back into myself. Yeah. I'm going to, really define my love to the people that matter most.
I love that.
So yeah, for the longest time, I, not embarrassingly, but like sadly to say, I was like, if I don't have that like companionship love, I don't feel like I'm good enough.
I'm really glad that you have talked to somebody about that, because you're certainly enough on your own, probably more than enough. And I remember once, and it's sad, and I think that is societal too. And I know I'm a dating coach, but as a person, I think society is wrong in what it praises. I can't change society. I don't have that ability. But society puts a premium on relationships and discounts people who are single, when in reality, we don't know the quality of somebody's relationship, and we don't know the quality of their single life. And so I remember once I don't know if I would call her a friend, like a friendly colleague. It was this therapist I had done some podcasts with. We became friendly. And she said to me, I hated this. She goes, well, thank God I'm married because people take me more seriously. Like they respect me more. And I hated that she was right. You know what I mean? Because we don't know what her mouth, we don't know what anyone's heard, obviously. And so she sadly nailed what society thinks. Her clients or patients probably think much more highly of her because of that, because as society, we put a premium on relationships. If I can work with someone through ending a situationship or ending something that's not suitable for them or doesn't bring them what they need, that to me is so much more successful than them being in any relationship.
I completely agree. And I'm very selective now in the dating world of knowing who I am and knowing, notably in my early 20s, I was like more looks based.
Sure.
I would
Oh,
say,
who's not? That's fine.
External attributes.
Yeah.
And now being much more picky and decisive on who I date, I'm like, I actually want these characteristics of this person. And I obviously want to be attracted to them. But the characteristics are so much more important to me. I'm like, I don't want someone who can lie to my face. I don't want someone, who doesn't have discipline in life.
Now, like, consistency becomes more important, reliability. And I think sometimes also, like, people forget, how do I feel about myself when I'm with this person? Because I can only imagine how awful you must have felt when you found out that he was going on other dates or wasn't prioritizing you. Like, you must have felt small. And I hate that. I think we've all felt small in our lives. And I hate that other people have the ability to make us feel small sometimes. But now you and anyone knows that if someone makes you feel small or insignificant or doesn't see you or appreciate you, that's not a feeling you want to have.
Right. But how do you coach your clients on just that? Like, how do you coach them on staying true to themselves, knowing that a relationship is kind of an ebb and flow and it is, a compromise because it is two people coming together. Yes. Do you teach them to have the hard conversations? Do you you say come on, you got this? Like, how do you
give them the words to say? Yeah, I mean, a cheerleader, sure, but also a script writer. And yes, I do, because a lot of people struggle, and I understand that. Communicating is hard. And so, I mean, how did I even get good at telling people how to communicate? I've been to therapy myself, I think it's a learned skill, and I couldn't do my job as well if I hadn't talked to somebody. And so generally, I tell people to express what they want first. So a lot of people will come to me and say, like, how do I ask, what are we? And I'll actually just tweak that a little and say, instead of asking, what are we? I would rather you express what you want and then ask how the other person feels about it. So for example, if you were going to go to someone after 3 months and say, hey, we've been dating for 3 months. What are we? What do you see us as? How do you see us? That puts every piece of power in the other person's hands. And I don't believe in power, but in general. But instead, if you say, we've been dating 3 months, I've really enjoyed everything we're doing. And I would love to do that without the distraction of other people. I would love to introduce you as my boyfriend this weekend at the birthday party we're going to. I would love to delete our dating apps. I think I'm at that point, and I just want to see how you feel about it. If that sends him running to the hills, that's probably information you should know.
Yes.
And then I'll talk.
Because I feel like that's the softest way, just from two humans communicating. I think, if someone was like, what are we doing? I would kind of be like, okay, this isn't a conversation.
It gives me too much control.
Yeah. It's like, oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. What are we doing? We, the men, weren't here. Yes, why should someone else tell you what we are doing?
Yes. Because inevitably life's just going to, if you continue with this person, life's going to get harder. You're going to have much bigger problems than the what are we conversation.
Sure.
And so it's almost like you're doing yourself a favor by having these
Mm-hmm.
conversations. And if they decide to run on something so simple as,
Right.
Your sweet way of asking,
Right.
what are we doing?
Then you've learned what you need to know. And so
Dodged a bullet
exactly. So I'll talk
on the
to
bigger
clients
life
about how to
situation.
have that conversation. Speaking of bullets, sometimes I'll have them write bullet points if they're scared or forget. And then I never plan for like I don't take them through every scenario because we don't know how other people are going to answer. And that's like an infinite number. But if they freak out or say no, or I'm not ready, that's the inflection point where a lot of people will stay too long. So if someone expresses, I don't want that, or I don't want to be in a relationship, or I'm not ready to be in a relationship, we have to listen. Now, if someone says, I want that too, but I'm just not quite there yet, that's where it's some gray area and some nuance. And if someone says, yes, great, everybody wins. And so,
yes,
situationships happen when often one person wants more and the other person is not giving them the more. And then the person who wants more often, and I don't blame anyone in this case, seems to accept it because you'd rather get something than nothing. Or you think they're going to change their mind, or you think they're going to come around. And unfortunately, I have to be very clear with people that when someone says, I don't want to be in a relationship right now, it means with you. We have to interpret it as with you.
Yes.
As hard as that sounds, and I don't like being the messenger of that. This is not, I don't get joy from saying that to people. It's horrible. You think I like being the messenger of? There's so many times I have to read client texts and say, do I have permission to give you feedback, or do I have permission to be honest? Everybody says yes. One person in 14 years said no, and I shut my big mouth. And I have to say, I'm getting from these texts that he doesn't care about you, or I'm getting that you're a low priority, or I'm getting whatever it is. I hate it. But on the other hand, I know I have to say it.
But you're also giving people, men and women, years of their lives back.
I'm glad I'm the person who gets to do it. But, get a few of those in a row and it's exhausting. And so, like with the example I gave before, where the guy is just like not on the ball with the plans. I had to say to her, based on these texts, I don't see him as interested.
What are, you mentioned the not being ready for more commitment, kind of that gray area of I'm not ready for the more commitment yet. What are some red flags, like right off the bat, that you see that maybe, if someone's talking to somebody new, would it be like inconsistent texting?
Yes.
These are things that I've seen in the world of
yeah,
things that texting, women or men don't know.
Yeah, inconsistent texting, canceling plans, not prioritizing your time, not valuing your time. Those are main things. Just like in a friendship, right? You don't want a friend who cancels on you all the time. And, why are people accepting less from someone who's perhaps more important in your life, where you're going to see more than your friends? And so, I can't think of any other. If someone's rude to people, a server, obviously that's a red flag as a human. We have to pay attention to those. And I'll also say, it sounds like in your case, he was doing things that were boyfriendy,
Very much so.
Right. And so I think sometimes, I get asked, do actions speak louder than words? Don't they? And I think sometimes people use that old adage to convince themselves that it's okay to stay in it because the actions show that somebody wants a relationship. But actions and words have to align. And so if someone is doing all of the actions but saying, I don't want to be in a relationship, they could come meet your mother for all I care. They still don't want to be in a relationship. And so actions and words have to align. Same thing with if someone says, I want to be in a relationship, but then their actions show that they either don't want to, don't have the capacity, or don't have the willingness, we have to pay attention to that too. Last thing, I feel like I'm talking nonstop, but I guess that's what I'm here for.
No, I absolutely love it. I'm just taking it all in.
Last thing is, and this goes against other people's advice, but my advice is generally not to ask somebody too early on what they're looking for. And why? Because most people think, well, shouldn't I know? You're gonna know from their actions. If someone just wants to sleep with you, trust me, they're not sticking around through a third date, okay? So you're gonna know pretty immediately. Same thing, if someone wants a relationship, look at their actions to see how they're treating you first. See if they're even relationship worthy. And so sometimes when people ask too soon, what are you looking for? Like someone, if you ask on a first date and someone says back a relationship, I think it does two things that could be harmful. One, it gives you, again, this false sense of, well, we're looking for the same things. Everything's good. But that doesn't mean they want a relationship with you. And two, just because they want a relationship doesn't mean they have the willingness or the capacity. Desire doesn't equal willingness, and desire doesn't equal capacity. There are many things I want in life, but I'm unwilling to do them because of, who knows, factors.
I also, to piggyback off that, I feel like that's one of the questions that maybe someone who is more on the manipulative side would use to
I agree with you.
Bring you in. Like, it's like your blueprint. It's like, now I know exactly what she wants.
Check. Exactly.
Yes.
Like someone wants.
And so I've had.
Sorry, you go.
It's okay. So I've had people, guys, who, when we're like on the tail end of a relationship where it's like, it's just not working out. And they're like, what can I do? And I'm like, it's not a checkbox situation.
Right.
Like, it's not pulling yourself out of, and there's 3 sides to every story. I say this all the time. I'm not without fault.
Right.
But I'm like, I'm not going to give you the checkbox list because you're going to do those and then assume that things are good.
I agree.
And so I think it goes into what you're talking about of like, what are you looking for? Because they're like, even if they are maybe just looking to sleep with you, they're like, well, if I do these things, that's what she's looking for, and I'll get what I need. If I say I want a
relationship, she'll let me sleep with her faster. I mean, I remember once I posted this, I don't know, maybe a year ago. I felt really bad for this client of mine. She gave him the blueprint. She basically said, I won't sleep with someone before the 5th date. Well, 5th date rolls around, or before I'm exclusive, and that's usually the 5th date. I mean, she gave him. And so 5th date, they're exclusive, they sleep together, he never contacts her again. I felt terrible for her. And like, she didn't do anything wrong. Nobody, I mean, if anyone's wrong, obviously it was him. But I felt really bad for her because she thought she was setting herself up for success. But in reality, unfortunately, somebody whose goal is just to see, he thought, well, I just have to ask her out on 6 dates real fast. And I was disappointed for her.
Yeah. I'm sure you get the heartbreak so much that it's hard, but you really have to just observe people and how they move and then decide if that's something you want to be a part of.
Exactly. And as it relates to sleeping together, I have no rules about when anyone should do that. I don't care. I think people are grown-ups and you should do whatever you want. However, what I will say is if you're looking for a longer-term relationship, I would wait longer because I want you to build a solid foundation and make sure you actually like and respect this person. And if there's even a question, a little doubt in your mind, is this person ever going to contact me again after we sleep together? You should not be sleeping together. Also, it gives you, it releases hormones and it makes you feel closer to somebody, especially for women, than we actually are. And so if you know you're going to feel, pardon my language, like crap the next day, don't do it. The future, the tomorrow version of you will thank you.
Yeah, that is a great way to mentally put yourself in really any situation in life. But as it pertains to dating, I feel like as women, we have such a good intuition and a really good gut instinct that we often overpass because we want the end goal. But you do something and maybe you sleep with somebody or you go on a date with somebody, or, you do something that you knew in your gut you didn't want to do. And the next day you're like, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
It's like, listen to your gut intuition, know who you are the next day. Would this person like who you are going to be?
That's how I feel when I eat a whole Chipotle burrito. It seems like a great idea at the time. I could finish it. I could eat a lot of food. And I think, Erika, tomorrow, you're not going to be happy about this. It's not going to be good. You know how it's not going to be good. And yet. And so sometimes we just have to plan a little bit in the future.
Yes, and Chipotle will never sponsor this podcast.
But for your sake, it's delicious. That's the point. You want to eat the whole thing.
They just make them so dang big.
Yes, they do. Exactly.
Full of guilt.
I know I'm petite, but I can eat it. Anyway, so yes. So I don't even know where we were, but words and actions have to align and really pay attention.
Okay, and I know we're wrapping up, but I know that in the adaptability world, social media is so big. Mm-hmm. And everybody has differing opinions on, when to post somebody. Other people are more private. Other people are doing
what you were getting at.
Good reasons and bad reasons. So, like, what are your thoughts on like soft launches, hard launches, all the social media things about relationships?
I think you should discuss it with the person you're dating first. I don't really care what you're posting, but make sure you're talking about it to the other person first. I mean, I have people I work with, like, well into their 40s and 50s, being like, I had a guy, I think he's, I don't know, like late 40s. He was like, I don't understand. She posted a picture of us for my birthday 2 weeks ago, but she didn't post from our trip this week. I don't know. I said, this is a question for her, not for me. I do not know. And so just everything has to be open communication, especially, yes, when so much of our lives, I didn't know what you were going to say. I thought you were going to ask about social media, like getting all kinds of bad advice from like every Joe Schmo out there. And then you have Threads, which I think is the dregs of the internet, where it's like the mob of people come out and they're like, run, sis, leave him. And it's like, sometimes they're right, often they're not. And that's what I thought you were going to say. So hard launch, soft launch, I couldn't care less. Talk to your partner about that. But I will say, don't listen to listen to advice that resonates with you. But I think it's very easy to jump to conclusions, especially if you're taking your advice from the internet. And I know a lot of people take my advice from the internet, but I think I have a proven track record. But there's a lot of stuff out there, and just like be careful with what you're listening to also.
Yeah, and I think there's different like perspectives too, right? Like some people value a more traditional relationship. Some people, value their own custom relationship, and it's really just understanding like the basic qualities of who you are, what you want, and using critical thinking to say, is this something that I want to implement in my life?
Right. I personally think, though, the more I see a couple post online, the worse I think their relationship must be, because what are you trying to prove? But anyway, maybe that's cynical.
I agree. It's like the constant
flower. That seems normal. I don't know. Just be happy there's a flower.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a conversation yesterday where it seems like it's almost habit, and there's nothing almost sacred about relationships anymore because it's all on the internet. Exactly. And you're like, what's real? What's planned? I don't know.
Yes. What is sacred? I think that about many things in this day and age. But what is sacred? I don't know. So I don't know. Couples should do whatever the heck they want on the internet.
Okay. That is good to know. So I'm going to do a quick interactive segment with you before we finish this up. Okay. But these are some real life scenarios that I've dealt with. And I want you to tell me if these are a slow burn to be continued or if these scream situationship.
Okay. I'm going to write this down.
Okay.
Slow burn. I'm writing down my 3 options. To be continued or situationship.
Yes.
Okay, I'm ready.
So example 1, you talk daily on text for 2 months, but you only hang out 1 to 2 times a month.
Have you expressed that you want, okay, none of these are going to be like so easy. Have you expressed that you want to see each other more? Have you expressed that you want
Yeah.
to see the other person more?
Yes.
And what? They don't have time. They don't, what's the deal?
There's always an excuse.
Yeah, no, that's a no. Do I even have to say situation? It's just a no.
Just a no. Okay. Okay, so introduces you to friends, but won't officially call you their girlfriend. And we have passed the 3-month mark, talked about wanting this to be more than what it is.
You've expressed interest in that.
Yes.
Well, again, it depends on how that conversation went. Is it like, I might need another month, but that's definitely the path I'm on? Or is it, no, that's not what I want? Because introducing to friends, some people see as a big deal and some people don't see as a big deal. And if there's, some people think introducing to their children or their parents is not a big deal. So whereas one person might take that as, oh my God, it's so serious. The other's like, whatever, I invite everyone to my mom's house.
Okay.
So I can't answer that one. Maybe to be continued, but it depends on how the conversation goes.
Okay. That's good to know. Okay. So the last one is they post you on stories when you two hang out and tag you, but they don't post an in-feed post of you. And I think this kind of goes back to what we talked about.
Well, here's the thing.
Really wanting to be in the feed.
Okay, I can't. I don't know. Talk to the person about that. But here's what I will say. I hate to boil it down to this, but if we're talking about a guy posting woman, he obviously thinks you're hot enough that he wants to share that with the world. Look at who I'm hanging out. It's a compliment, sort of.
Okay. This is why I like the heart stance of like, where is your heart in these moments? Like, why is he posting it to brag? Is he posting it to be genuine? Oh, he's definitely
posting it to brag. But just ask. I mean, I don't know. Some people are at the feed. Some people post nothing on the internet. Some people post their woodworking. Like, so
it's a per person
case
situation.
By case basis.
Okay. I love that. And I kind of want to close this out and say just how truly excited I am for this episode. I feel like you have taught me so much. And I know that all of my listeners from Love in the Wilds are going to just absolutely adore this.
Oh, thanks.
Because it is. I love your no BS approach.
Thank you.
Like, you're like, he just doesn't like you. And you're like, ow, that hurt. But like, you're not sugarcoating it for me.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like to think I'm nice, but direct. Because no one's paying me to tell them, well, maybe if you give it more time. That's not what I'm here for. I mean, I'm always nice. I'm generally nice. I don't know.
Okay. I have talked with you we're going on 45 minutes now, and I think you are one of the nicest people.
Oh, well, I don't know about that, but thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm a little cynical. I'm a little direct. So, I'm in the same boat.
I have to shift my advice sometimes when it's a friend asking me because they're not paying me. And so I will say I do have to finesse sometimes, which is interesting.
Okay. It's good to know your audience. Yeah. But I'm going to encourage everybody to follow you, of course, at a little nudge on Instagram. But I also want you to share first, I want you to share like any closing, no BS takeaway that everybody can take from this. And then also, if they want to work with you, what is the best way to get in contact with you? Is it through a DM? Is it through your email?
Good question. Okay. Closing remarks. I say this sometimes, and it doesn't necessarily relate to anything we talked about today, but as I'm sure you hear, there's a lot of complaining out there about dating. Everyone's terrible. The dating apps are everything's bad. And I will say some of it is with good reason. I think people's behaviors have gotten worse over the years because they're hiding behind a screen. But I will say with a good strategy of how to use the dating apps, of how to productively put yourself out there, and more importantly, what we were talking about today, how to listen to signs, listen to people's words, and know when it's time to end things. you can be successful at dating. Sometimes it is easier to complain, cheaper, takes less time to complain than it is to get yourself a strategy. And so I would love to help anyone get that strategy, whether that means helping you write your profile, going through, I go through people's conversations on both text and in the dating apps to see what went right or what went wrong. We'll actually scour the internet and find you events to go to in person. And I think with a good strategy, I can't say who you're going to meet, but I will say it will improve. So how do you get in touch with me? Yes, you can go to Instagram at A Little Nudge. If you click on the link in my bio, it has some options there. Also, if you go to my website, alittle.nudge.com, there's a whole services page, and you're always welcome to. I'll give anyone a free 20-minute consultation, so you can sign up for that, and I'd be happy to chat with you about our options.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on this podcast. I have enjoyed it. I love following you. I love watching all of your, responses to people's, text conversations, Bumble conversations, because some of them I'm like, oh, this is cut and dry. Like I catch myself commenting in my head.
Like, people too. I really appreciate that compliment. Thank you. It's always so interesting because I give the advice that comes out first. I don't overthink. I just give how I read it, right? And it's interesting because everyone reading the post has the benefit of reading the full post first. I never get that benefit. So it's always so interesting because sometimes people tell me stuff in dribs and drabs and I give the advice that corresponds with what more comes out. So it's always interesting reading it as I do and then reading the full exchange.
Well, I love it. It's kind of like my guilty pleasure right now.
Oh, thanks. I'm honored.
I want to see what everyone else is dealing with in the dating world. So thank you so much for having us. I can't wait to see what else you do next.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was fun. And whether you want to keep this or not, you're a great interviewer. So I really appreciated it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Love in the Wild. If you laughed, nodded, cried, or texted your bestie mid-episode, you already know the drill. Don't keep it to yourself. Leave a review, share it in your stories, and tag me at Katelyn Ansari so I can hype you up right back. Remember, healing isn't linear, dating isn't a sport, and you're doing better than you think. Be soft, stay unbreakable, and I'll see you next week.